Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Mark O'Donoghue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Mark O'Donoghue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Well, hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. We've got a 90s creep today, which I'm really excited to talk about. But before we get there, I just want to say we do have a basic Facebook page, but that's a place where people go to complain about our language. We use salty language in this program, and I will be using some really bad Boston accents at some point.
Yeah, fucking deal with it. And say hi to your mother for me.
Oh. We are on Twitter at Creepod, I'm sorry. I'm going to dead name it. Twitter at Creepod, because somebody had What a Creep on Twitter for over 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
We're on Threads, What a Creep. We're on Instagram, What a Creep. And our email is whatacreeppodcast, spell it all out, at gmail.com. We're always looking for suggestions for creeps. And we also should say, non-creeps, because we always end the show with someone who's not a creep. It sort of balances out the content, as they say. Sonia, do you want to talk about the website?
Yeah, you can go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. You shouldn't be afraid to ask, but go to the thing. And on there, you can find all of our past episodes, and in each of those little posts are show notes, because we source every single thing we do. We're not making this stuff up, and we want to give credit to the journalists that did all the dirty work. And if you want a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a great place to start. There's also a link to our Patreon shop where you could get, not Patreon, sorry, our merch shop. Patreon's linked there too, but more on that in a second. Our merch shop, where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks and all the things. I'm using my adorable Everybody Drink sticker today on my water cup.
You need to send me a few.
Yes, I will send you a few. We also have the High Road Can Get Fucked was recently added, and one of our listeners said that he bought it for his wife because she was having a really hard time at work, and that she loves it, and that makes me so happy.
Finding our people.
Happy. Yes, and making me so happy. So anyway, you could do that, and there's a link to sign up for our Substack. Please do that. I'll be sending that out next week. And there's a link to our Patreon page. Tell them about that, Margot.
Patreon. What we put up there are our first 8 episodes right now. For the first, 8 episodes. What am I even talking about, Sonia? The first 8 seasons. We got some really great creeps on there. So if you're interested, also, we do put out 2 bonus episodes a month. That's where Sonia and I get together and shoot the shit. It's so much fun. Yeah. So,
yes,
I want to thank Eva for joining our Patreon page this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And if you have the time, look, if money is tight, we get that. If you have the time, if you can leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, especially in iTunes, 5-star review, that'd be amazing. Or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, please do that. We really appreciate it.
Yes. And if you're wondering, what do they use that Patreon money for? Did they use it for their child support or something? No, I don't use it for that. We use it to pay for all these sources. So we like to pay people for their work.
Exactly. Alrighty. If you are ready, I am ready. Sonia, let's hear about our creep today.
Okay. We are going to be talking about Mark Wahlberg, also known as Marky Mark. Trigger warning, racism and homophobia. Sources, biography, Cracked, The Independent, Nikki Swift, The Real Rundown, Up Rocks, Us Weekly, Vanity Fair, and of course, always, Wikipedia. So, can you feel it, baby?
Oh, I've got good vibrations. I'm putting on my Calvin Klein underwear right now.
Y'all, I
I'm
can't
going to go
do
back to
a-
1955 and change the world. Get it?
I can't do Boston accents for y'all. So, but Margot will try. We're going to talk about Marky Mark. So, if you don't know who Mark Wahlberg is, I find that hard to believe, but here we go. He's a former rapper, now actor. He started as Marky Mark from Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch in the early 90s. They had a few hits, Good Vibrations, not related to the Beach Boys song, y'all, and Wild Side, which is very related to Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side, if you're wondering. By the mid 90s, he was featured in some very famous Calvin Klein ads with Kate Moss. And then he went to movies. He did like Renaissance Man, Fear, Boogie Nights in 1997. And then we all know what happens after that. Three Kings, Perfect Storm, rock star.
He's a big star. He's a beautiful star.
He's a beautiful big star. You know, Ted, all the Transformer movies. I haven't, well, not all of them, but I haven't seen those.
No, I was referring to Boogie Nights last scene, but
and by the way, we've talked about some of these movies on Dorking Out, so if you want to go and listen to that, you most certainly can. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for The Departed, which we love.
He's great in The Departed.
Very, very good in it. And he was actually nominated for an Oscar for producing 2011's The Fighter, which was nominated for Best Picture. And Christian Bale and Melissa Leo both won Oscars for that movie. And he is a very active, like, producer type. Entourage, Boardwalk Empire, Ballers. He's a business guy. He owns, like, a bottled water company, a car dealership, fitness center, a tequila brand. He co-owns a cricket team, like you do. And, of course, he co-owns Wahlburgers with his brothers. And there's a
with the
reality
government
show
cheese. I love
Does
that
it really
show.
I'm all done. I've never watched the show, so I'll take your word for it. Yeah, nominated for 2 Oscars, nominated for Golden Globes, some Emmys, Screen Actors Guild Awards, all the things. Y'all, I get it. He has starred in or produced a lot of good things that we like. I love The Departed. I love Boogie Nights. I get it. It's okay to like those things, but I think it's important to remember that Mark Wahlberg did some fucked up shit back in the day. He committed some hate crimes when he was younger, and he's done some problematic shit throughout his career, and he continues to work with and defend Mel Gibson. Come on, you gross.
We have an episode about him. I think it's behind the
Yes.
Patreon wall.
Yes. So let's start at the beginning. Mark Robert Michael Wahlberg, that's a lot of names, was born June 5th, 1971 in Boston. He is the youngest of 9.
Yep.
9. That is some 9 times. I don't remember him being sick 9 times. I'm sure everyone knows his brother, Donnie Wahlberg, who's one of the new kids on the block. And he stars in that show that everybody's mother loves called Blue Bloods that has Tom Selleck. His mother was Alma Elaine. She worked as a bank clerk and a nurse's aide. His father was Donald Edmond. He was an Army veteran who worked as a truck and a bus driver.
No.
His parents divorced when he was 11. He quickly found the bad side. He was stealing very young. He even stole his sister's bike from her once and painted it brown.
So she wouldn't know?
Yes. For months, his family didn't realize that he had stolen her bike until the paint started chipping.
Jesus.
I'm all,
that's rough. That's a tough
That's
house.
tough. Yeah. By 10, he was sneaking out at night with his older brothers. He was getting drunk and high. He's 10. 10. At 14, he dropped out of school. He was stealing. He was selling drugs. He was using drugs, mainly cocaine. He's 14.
Yeah.
So here we go. When he was 15, Mark Wahlberg.
When he's all grown up.
He's all grown up, all washed up.
I'm in the 10th grade now.
Him and 3 of his friends stalked and attacked a group of black 4th graders.
Jesus.
They yelled, chanted at them, kill the N-words, threw rocks at them. The kids actually, these 4th graders ran into a Burger King to get away from them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then the next day, those same kids were on a field trip with their class, and Wahlberg and his friends showed up at the beach where they were on this field trip and began yelling racial slurs at them. His friends got other like white people around them to join in, and again threw rocks at them.
A kid?
Hit one. They're at the kids. They're in the 4th grade. These
Jesus
are 4th
Christ.
graders.
Oh, fuck this guy. Sorry.
Mark Wahlberg and his friends, we're talking 15 and up at this point. These are little kids. 4th grade is
9.
8?
9. Yeah,
8 or 9. Yeah. He actually hit he hit 2 of the kids. The teacher was able to like get an ambulance there, and Wahlberg and all of his friends ran away. He was never charged with like a criminal case. He never got criminal charges, but he was found guilty of violating their civil rights. And there was a civil rights injunction filed against him. He's a teenager at this point, and he's already done these things. So there was a civil rights injunction filed against him. And really all this meant was if he did this shit again, he was going to go to jail. Like
and if the races were reversed there,
Yes.
what do we think would happen?
Yeah, they would most definitely have been in
Shit,
jail.
The news would have gone crazy.
Yes. One of the girls that he chased, one of the young 4th graders, said this was a hate crime. She's an adult now.
I was just going to say, damn, that's a poised child.
And she's like, and she said, like, this should be on his record forever. Like, the teacher that was there said, I was really scared. My heart was beating so fast. I couldn't believe it was happening. The names, the rocks, and chasing those kids.
That's
like,
that's some bullshit.
Yeah. This wasn't like, oh, kids will be kids.
No,
like,
not like he was stealing a car and he's high out of his mind and all that stuff. I mean, you endanger people, but you're just being an asshole.
Yes.
You're attacking kids, little kids. Fuck you.
Little kids.
Elementary
exactly.
school. Fuck you.
Seriously, what a fucking bully. So 2 years later, so he would be 17 at this point, maybe.
Middle-aged. I was just kidding.
He's middle-aged, all washed up. So in 88, he assaulted a man from Vietnam. He hit him with a large wooden stick, threw out all kinds of racial slurs at him. I'm obviously not going to say that shit. He knocked that man out, knocked him unconscious. Then Mark and his friends ran away. Mark and his friends ran away, and they ran into another man from Vietnam. His name is Hoa Trin, and Wahlberg punched him in the eye, knocked him to the ground. That man ended up losing that eye.
Holy shit. I heard about this.
And again,
17?
17. Started throwing around all the racial slurs. Even when the police picked him up, he was still using the slurs that I am not going to say. He was charged with attempted murder, pleaded down to guilty, of felony assault. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Oh, Jesus.
He did 45 days. 45 days.
That's just,
yeah.
There's nothing funny to say. That's just some bullshit.
It is some serious fucked up shit. So years later, in 2014, we're going to jump around a little bit, y'all. Just in 2014, Mark Wahlberg actually wanted to get a pardon for his attacks, for his he wanted his record expunged, basically. And he's like, I'm really sorry for the actions I took. I dedicated myself to becoming a better person and citizen. And everyone was like, fuck you. This is white privilege.
Right.
He hasn't he didn't do shit to make amends, blah, blah, blah. One of the children actually that he had attacked said a racist will always be a racist. And the attorney, the prosecutor in his original case, said that he has never admitted to the racial natures of his crimes. He never admits to the fact that he did these things because of race, that they were hate crimes. When he talks about them, he makes it sound like Oh, I was just a bad kid on the wrong side of the law and I beat up some people. But it wasn't
I got in
just
some
that.
fights, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how
It
it's
was,
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, these were hate crimes. You literally sought these people out because they were black,
Right.
and because they were Asian.
And you try to get people to join you.
Yes, and you beat them up. And that's why they were like, fuck you. He actually ended up withdrawing that request to have his record expunged. And it turned out that, of course, it wasn't because he feels like he's such a good person. It was really because he was trying to get a business license for Wahlburgers. But okay. Let's talk about his Marky Mark era. So in 1990, Donnie Wahlberg, he's in he was hanging tough. He was hanging tough with the New Kids on the Block fame. You know, get on the floor and do the New Kids dance, if you will. He wanted to produce an album with his little brother. Hence, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch are born. Look, I'm not a monster. That song, Good Vibrations, is really fucking catchy.
It makes you want to boogie.
It does.
It makes you wiggle your ass.
It is that. So the album is called Music for the People. The song Good Vibrations is fucking huge. It's huge. It's like a platinum single, you know, and he becomes like a really big star. Like he starts doing the Calvin Klein ads, the music videos on all the time. He releases like a book about himself and it's just called like Marky Mark. It came out in 92, and at the beginning he says, I want to dedicate this book to my dick.
I'm sorry, but that's funny.
I'm like, cool.
He knew ahead of time he was going to be in.
I'm like, did he see into the future? So also in 92, Wahlberg got into a fight with his neighbor, fractured his jaw.
Oh, Jesus.
Dude had to get his jaw wired shut. The lawsuit was settled out of court. The neighbor said the attack was unprovoked. Marky Mark says that the neighbor insulted one of the men in his entourage, and that's why they beat him up. Later that same year, Mark Wahlberg got into a fight with a member of Madonna's entourage. After Marky Mark was throwing around gay slurs to them.
Oh, fuck him.
Yeah. He pushed the owner of the nightclub and knocked him down, and that he actually punched like one of the record executives in the face from Madonna.
Christ.
Yeah.
From Maverick or from his company?
Yes, no, from Maverick. Exactly. I was just going to say from Maverick. I love that you remembered Madonna's record label.
Record labels used to be my thing. I used to know them really well. Yeah.
So later again that year, now we're up into December 92, he went on this British TV show called The Word, and he was praising someone named Shabba Ranks. I don't know who that is, but he's some other artist or whatever. And this artist had claimed that gay people should be crucified. So cool, Marky Mark.
Very Old Testament.
You're clear. Yeah, not cool with gay people, clearly. And at the time, again, he's doing these Calvin Klein ads where he's in his underwear, and
you're the spank bank for both genders, dude.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, and with like Kate Moss, and then there's like a huge thing to like drop Marky Mark from these campaigns. It didn't work. Years later, Mark Wahlberg would actually turn down Brokeback Mountain, saying that he was, quote, creeped out by the gay love story. So, dude has a problem with gay people.
He's Catholic, Sonia.
Yeah, he's super Catholic, bigoted. Which, by the way...
Sorry, that's a joke. I was raised Catholic. They're not all bigoted.
By the way, also raised Catholic here. So we have two Reformed Catholics here. By the way, not all hashtag not all Catholics, but...
Wink, wink.
So now Marky Mark goes to the movies, puts out a second album, it bombs. Decides to go into movies. He does Penny Marshall's Renaissance Man with Danny DeVito. And then he does Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio. And then Fear with Reese Witherspoon, who he dates for a little while. And then he does Boogie Nights, and it's fucking on from
Right.
then. Like, and by the way, he's really good.
Oh, yeah.
He's really Marky Mark.
They're an entertaining family. Let me
that.
say that. I think they're an entertaining family. They all have some charisma.
Yeah,
Riz.
He's got the Riz, as the kids like to say. And he's very good in Boogie Nights, and he's very good in these movies that he would do later.
It's on the trees. It's in the trees.
It's in the trees.
It's in the trees.
I have never
I'm
seen
a
that
teacher.
movie.
I got to get back to my students.
You have been working on your Marky Mark. Okay, so all the movies. Now, let's talk about some of his other problematic shit. Because this isn't about his filmography. Although, go listen to our episode about The Departed. We had lots of things to say. So I want to talk about the time that he said 9/11 would have gone differently if he had been on the plane.
I'm sorry. I forgot about this one.
Yes,
Oh, my God.
So it turns out Mark Wahlberg was actually booked on the American Airlines Flight 11, but had a change of plans and was not on that flight, and he canceled his reservation. The following year, he does an interview and he says, if I was, sorry, it wasn't the following year he did this interview. It was like 10 years later. He said, if I was on the plane with my kids, it wouldn't have went down like it did. There would have been a lot of blood in that first class cabin. Okay. And then me saying,
but
okay,
the kids
we're
going to like take their box cutters and fight back. Yeah. Call me a dad.
And then me
cockpit.
saying, we're going to land somewhere safely. Don't worry. Marky, it's like, y'all, Marky Mark's got it. It's fine.
It's that Tom Cruise confidence.
Yes.
There's an accident. Only one person can go there.
Yeah. It's so fucked up. Like, it's so shitty. Like, you don't say that in an interview. Like, my dog is so upset. He's barking. Just to be like, if I was on the plane, I would totally beat up the hijackers and that would have never. It's fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
It wouldn't have changed anything.
Yes, he issued an apology because obviously family members of people who were killed on those flights were like, fuck you.
Yeah, and they did, by the way, rush the cockpit. Some of them, but there was nothing you could do. It happened so quickly. It takes no time to fly from New York to Boston and back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very short flight anyway. And you wouldn't. It's a fucking plane. You can't just stop it.
Yeah. And there's the whole and then I would have said, okay, we're going to land somewhere safely. Don't worry. It's like, was that you're gonna
the whole
land
point?
The plane.
Nobody thought to do that.
Yeah. Oh, thank God Marky Mark was here. If only the Funky Bunch had been here to save us.
We ran out of gas. It crashed anywhere. Nobody. Yeah. What an asshole.
It's just such a fucking
people blow smoke up their ass, man.
Such a dick move. Today's episode, what a dick. It's super appropriate for Dirk Diggler. Oh my God, my dogs are losing their minds.
I can't hear it. Don't worry.
Okay, great. In 2013, Mark Wahlberg was on the Graham Norton show.
2013?
2013.
Okay, sorry.
So Marky Mark's there. I'm just going to keep calling him that. Sarah Silverman's there, and Michael Fassbender is there. At some point, he said he challenges Michael Fassbender to a big dick contest. He sits on Graham Norton's lap. He's pinching his nipples. He was super inappropriate, made everyone uncomfortable. Even Graham Norton, who normally loves this kind of shit.
Yeah,
by the
I was
way,
just gonna say, if you make him uncomfortable, you're being an asshole.
Yeah, he was he was uncomfortable. He said later he was uncomfortable. Mark tries to play it up like it was a planned bit. It wasn't. He then tries to say it was he said it was pre-planned. Then he just said, "Oh, I was kind of tired or whatever." And
Sonia.
Graham Norton was like, "This was jet lag and booze." You're not
your
fooling
fucking
anybody.
ego.
And your fucking ego, he thought like he could just do it, you know, and that people would think he was charming and funny. And instead everyone was all, ew. He kept cutting off Sarah Silverman too. So you can watch the clip. Every time she tries to talk, he just pretends like she's not talking.
He's jealous.
He's jealous.
Yeah,
he doesn't like it when other...
he thinks he's funny.
Yes. He's funny when other people write for him.
Yes. When other people are doing him and his accent, it's in the trees, Sonia.
Andy Samberg's SNL skit where he's like, Mark Wahlberg talks to animals, and it's like, you know, and he's doing the Boston accent and he's like talking to animals, and then it always ends with, and say hi to your mother for me. Like, that makes me laugh so hard.
Did you see the Andy Sandler with Pee Wee Herman? They go to a bar and they get drunk. And they get thrown out of the bar, and Pee Wee like is wasted, and then Anderson Cooper shows up to like intervene, and he throws a chair at Anderson Cooper.
I'm gonna Google this.
It's pretty fucking great because they have the old like props from Pee Wee Herman show, like the chair,
yes,
and the stork and that bird thing. Yeah, so look it up.
R.I.P. Paul Rubens.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about Pee Wee's Big Adventure on Dorking Out, by the way. Then there's the time, of course, that Mark Wahlberg made 1,500 times more than Michelle Williams made for All the Money in the World. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know what this was, there was a movie called All the Money in the World, and it starred Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Williams, and Kevin Spacey. And then the sexual misconduct allegations come out about Kevin Spacey, and they were like, oh, fuck this guy. We're just going to cut him out. They literally cut him out of the movie. I was like, more of this, please. I'm fine with that. And they replaced him with Christopher Plummer, but they had to like reshoot a couple of scenes. The idea that was thrown out to the press, this is what it supposedly was supposed to be, is that Mark Wahlberg and Michelle Williams so desperately wanted to do the right thing that they were doing it for scale. Right? Like that they were like, we don't want to be associated with Kevin Spacey. Fuck that guy. And this is our art. And we're going to do it for scale, these reshoots. That's what she was doing. Secretly, Mark Wahlberg was getting like a $1.5 million check.
Wow.
And she got $1,000. Understandably, when the press found out, they were like, fuck you. And then he tried to play it off like, I didn't know that like she wasn't getting paid. And then he donated all that money to the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund in her name.
Oh, wow.
But Wahlberg and his people negotiated this. They knew.
Yeah.
They knew.
It's just understood you're supposed to make less. Like he's the big star, so you just have to make less and be happy with it.
He's such a dick move on his part.
It is. Michelle Williams is a goddamn treasure.
She is a treasure.
Mm-hmm.
She is a treasure. God, I love her.
Me too.
So he's married to someone named Rhea Durnham.
Former model, former Lucky Magazine model. I used to work for Lucky Magazine. Yeah.
She's beautiful.
Oh, she's stunning.
They've been together since 2001. They have a whole bunch of kids. 4. I think they have 4 kids together. He's Catholic. He's pretty vocal about that sort of thing. You know, he goes to mass a lot. He did an interview in 2017 in which he said he was hoping God would forgive him for Boogie Nights. I was like, boy, you should be forgiven for Transformers movies. Boogie Nights.
Well, also, like, your fake schwanz, like, that's, like, nothing to really... I mean, the fact that you stab somebody in the eye and you know...
Yes.
Further damage them and you'll hurl the F word at little kids and threaten to beat them up and terrorize them. Your dick movie it just pales in comparison.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like... Also, just you should be fucking worshiping at the altar of Boogie Nights.
Yeah, exactly.
It literally established you as someone who could be taken seriously on the screen
and make money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. He did do some good things. He established like a youth foundation in 2001. He's active in like a church run, like homeless shelter for women and children. We point out when our creeps tried to do good things. So that's good. And he's like, he loves to talk about what a good Catholic he is and all this. Again, fine. But that doesn't excuse why he works with someone like Mel Gibson.
Right.
Walking hate crime, Mel Gibson.
Well, just to interject here.
Yeah.
If he went to he went to the Catholic Church in Boston in the 70s and 80s, guess where all these really bad activities of the priests were happening?
Yeah.
He probably doesn't have a great idea,
yes.
But
yeah.
He's going to have his lens to look at things.
Yes. Yes, he is. If you haven't listened to our Mel Gibson episode, please do. Mel Gibson is because he sucks. He's a garbage person. He's one of the first creeps we talked about. I think it's in the first season. Mm-hmm. He's homophobic. He's anti-Semitic. He's racist. He's a domestic abuser. Dude should not be working in Hollywood. Fuck Mel Gibson.
Hit a woman who was holding their baby. Excuse me.
Their baby. He's trash. I don't care if Jodie Foster wants to get on The View and talk about how great Mel Gibson is. He's trash.
Foster's got some stuff with her.
Yeah. Wahlberg he's made now 3 movies with Mel Gibson. He's like tying himself to Mel Gibson in a way that is like so gross to me. First he made Daddy's Home 2, which I didn't see that, but I'm sure it's funny. I don't know, whatever.
It's whatever. People like it, yeah.
Yeah. Then he made a movie called Father Stew, which is 100% one of those like religion pandering movies that play, written and directed by Mel Gibson's girlfriend. And there's even like a scene where like Mel Gibson's like making like jokes about Hitler. It's
does he call him sugar tits?
Yeah, I wish. Sugar tits.
Tongue, sugar tits.
It's just all of that's gross. Yeah. And now he's making another movie called, where is it? Flight Risk, which is like another, I don't know, maybe this is him wanting to live out his like 9/11 fantasy. It's, definitely one of those someone takes over a plane and Mark Wahlberg like saves everybody.
Right.
This is, now that I think about it, this is absolutely like his like 9/11 fantasy come to life. No wonder he said yes. So, by the way, there are people who defend Mel Gibson, like Robert Downey Jr. does too.
They're friends. And I'm sure to some people he's great. And I'm sure to some people he's nice. He's not sexist. He's not saying the N-word. I'm sure he doesn't do it every second of the day. I think he's pretty smart.
Right.
And has some charisma, got some riz himself, and knows how to use it. It wouldn't do him well, but in general, he doesn't give a fuck about people. He doesn't respect women. His father is a fucking Holocaust denier.
Yes.
And sins of the father, I guess, but still, it's not like he ever called him out for that.
No, because he agrees with him.
I think, exactly. And Mark, do better.
Yeah, exactly. And so when people like align themselves with him, you'll notice Robert Downey Jr. is not exactly making movies with Mel Gibson. It's like
right.
And here's Wahlberg on his like 3rd movie with the guy. It's gross. So most recently, Mark Wahlberg was one of the people that made sure to shake hands with Donald Trump. Gross and disgraced former President Donald Trump was at a UFC fight. Was in Vegas for a UFC fight. And there's Wahlberg, being polite and shaking his hand or whatever.
He lives in Vegas now.
He lives in Vegas now. He used to play golf with Donald Trump back in the day before he was like actually president. So dude, even then, even before Trump was president, none of these people should have been associating with Donald Trump because he'd been credibly accused of multiple things before.
We have not done. I'm sorry, Sonia. We haven't done a.
Go ahead.
We haven't done a Trump episode. We do get asked about that, and I know people
Yeah.
are there to hate listen to it as well. We would need a whole season just on him. We're just not there yet. I mean, he's just going through his third indictment in his many months.
Yes.
We still, the story's still being told. But as far as I knew, and I knew people who knew Trump back in the day, he was just kind of a doofus. Like, he wasn't harmful. He was just somebody who didn't pay his bills.
Right.
But what he's become and what he co-signs, either verbally or with his silence, the things that Trump co-signs are fucking terrible. Racism, bigotry, homophobia, misogyny. He's a rapist, y'all.
Yeah, he's a rapist. And he announced he was running for president in like 2015. And he said, I couldn't believe his like announcement that he was running for president was like basically like all like Hispanic people were like violent.
Mexicans.
Yeah, we're all like rapists and drug dealers and all this stuff. So anyone that's like even talking to Donald Trump in 2016, it's a red flag for me. And that's Mark Wahlberg, like playing golf with Trump is like, you know, in 2016. I was like, he's already said all this fucked up shit and you're still like, you know, and that's what he's doing with Mel Gibson too. You know, well, he doesn't do that to me, so it's totally fine. It's gross. It's gross. So that is our creep, Marky Mark Wahlberg.
Sonia, I did get good vibrations listening to that. You did a great job. I want to talk about Seth Rogen for a second because Mel Gibson announced that he was doing some kind of a Christmas movie or he's going to be cast in a Christmas movie.
Oh,
and Seth Rogen wrote on Twitter, oh man, are they going to call it the Ho-Ho Holocaust? Which made me laugh. He fucking hates him.
Seth Rogen gets it.
Yeah.
There's only one good Rogen. It's Seth Rogen.
As far as I'm concerned, yeah. All right, Sonia, do you want to hear a little bit about our non-creep?
Yeah, I do.
All right, we're going to live long and prosper, y'all. Marky Mark, according to Wikipedia and his and the Wahlburgers show, which I've seen a bunch of times, they're from Dorchester.
Oh, yes.
Hell yeah. And so I looked up on the internets, and Leonard Nimoy is our non-creep this week. Now, other residents of Dorchester are people who are from there. Joseph P. Kennedy, Whitey Bulger. We did an episode about him. 3 of the members of New Kids on the Block. Dennis Lehane, Ray Bulger, Donna Summer, and Lawrence O'Donnell, who's on MSNBC right now.
Yes.
Leonard Nimoy. Have you heard of him, Sonia?
Yes, I have. I have watched Star Trek.
I grew up with this in the 70s. They had this on reruns, and my brother Joe had actually like the little insignia on his clothes. My mom put a little patch on his clothes. He was a big Spock fan, so I'm a huge Spock fan. He was born March 26, 1931 in either Dorchester or West End. Let's just say Dorchester because that's what Wikipedia says.
Yeah.
He was an actor, director, photographer, author, singer, songwriter, and poet. The dude did a lot. He was born in the Boston area. His family are Ukrainian Jews. He worked in Yiddish theater. He could speak. He was fluent in Yiddish, by the way. He came to L.A. to become an actor. He did that. He did some minor appearances, and then he was in the United States Army from 53 to 55. He was stationed in Georgia, and he worked in the entertainment part, like they put on shows for the Met. Whatever. He gets out, he gets married, and pretty soon he joins the Star Trek Enterprise. I think you've heard of it.
Yes.
And it famously, it was like a semi hit, which is totally weird to me now. Like, because I feel like Batman and Star Trek, like they're very watchable now. Like, sure, they're dated, but they're really fun. To me. You know what I mean? Like they're like Monkeys level fun for me. But they were
Star Trek is so good, and it was so smart though at what it was doing with how it was trying to kind of like Twilight Zone, I guess, trying to tackle like social commentary through a sci-fi lens. It's kind of bananas that it wasn't the huge hit, and it wasn't until syndication that it found its people.
Yeah, and that it took a while, but it did eventually find its people. I mean, at the time, people did write in to try to keep the show on the air, but it didn't work out. So the show ends, and he goes on to Mission Impossible, and he's doing these other shows, and then the show catches on again, once again with the nerds at the conventions, and it goes on TV. And this becomes this role that he's known for forever. I loved the show In Search Of. That was...
Yes, I used to watch that.
It was the best show.
So good.
He was a film director. He did Star Trek, The Voyage Home, the third one in The Voyage Home, and then one more.
Yeah. I think people will tell you that the fourth one is...
It's the best.
It's the best one.
It's my favorite. I mean, also because it's set in San Francisco.
Yeah. And it's just the most accessible to people who aren't like Trekkies. But he was a talented director.
He also was a songwriter. He really tried to be known for his singing. He put out albums. They were of varying levels of success.
I listened to one. I put together a playlist for work where I did like actors trying to sing, basically. Yeah. So it was like Don Johnson, Eddie Murphy. And I put Leonard Nimoy on that. And everyone was like, what the fuck, Leonard Nimoy?
Well, him and William Shatner kind of had... they had that competition because they both put out... I mean, Nimoy was actually singing, whereas William Shatner does the walking talk, like a talkie thing. Picture yourself in a boat on a river. Nimoy, I always thought, was just as smart as Spock. He sort of gave off that vibe about him. He wrote 2 autobiographies. One is I Am Not Spock. And then 20 years later, he wrote I Am Spock. He had... Spock was the person on the show that wasn't very humorous, right? He was just all logic. He wasn't emotion, even though he showed emotion from time to time.
He was like accidentally humorous.
Right. And people loved... they always had these really nice values from the show, and I think that's something that it took a couple of generations to figure out. But the people who were fans of the show, a lot of them became scientists and artists, and because it's just really a really nice message about humanity. Yeah. There's nothing ironic about it. Like, they're just super like, no, what if we're all just not racist assholes? What would that be like?
What?
This is what
Imagine that.
We know the person who created Star Trek was totally an asshole, by the way. He will be an episode one day, but let's just forget that for a second. He put out his, the one non-creepy thing I would say, he was married twice, first to Sandra Zober and then to Susan Bay. His first wife, he left her on her 56th birthday. Oh. Not great. But like, people break up, and they were together for a really long time before that. He put out a couple of films about the Holocaust because he's a part of a family that they were worried that people were forgetting that the Holocaust happened, and they want to just keep the memory going. Unfortunately, it's something we still have to fucking do, apparently. I don't know why. But anyway, he got various degrees after he left the show. He kept with the Spock character until they redid it, and then Zachary Quinto plays Spock now, and he stopped playing Spock because he wanted him to have the spotlight. Like, they did a little... It's you now.
They did a little crossover in one of the movies where there was almost like a handing off.
Yeah.
It was really, really well done. And I know he would show up in animated things still. Like
he did a ton of animation.
Yeah, he did Simpsons and Futurama and things like that.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And in the end, he was he was sanguine about it. He understood that it was a powerful image and a good thing to be a part of. And if you can't escape it, learn to embrace it, I guess.
Yeah.
He lived to be 83. He had POCD, whatever that's called. He had that, COPD, excuse me, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Oh.
But had a long life, kids, grandkids. He inspired a lot of people. He was a good person. And that's our non-creep this week, Leonard Nimoy, Spock.
Good choice, Margot.
Thank you very much. And if you like the sound of our voices, Sonia hinted this before, we co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. Currently, What are we dorking out about? Oh, Mobsters. That's the episode that's in there right now.
It's a good one. That's a fun one.
What are we covering next?
We are going to talk about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. R.I.P. Paul Rubens. And I truly believe that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is like a perfect comedy. So it's going to be so much fun to talk about.
It's something we wanted to do.
It might be like a Farley. It might be like a Farley show where it's like, remember when...
It's pretty much a perfect movie, like you just said, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it without crying, but we'll give it a try. But we're going to talk about that on our next episode. Please follow us in all the places I mentioned at the top of the show. We love it when you use the Andy Potts gift. We got one from Ghostbusters. Just so y'all know, we've been hearing from people. We are on the Lizzo situation. We have to wait for things to pan itself out.
Yes.
But we do listen to women when they speak out about abuse. So just cool your tits. We'll get there.
We'll talk about it in a bonus ep or something, like,
for sure.
But there's things to talk about for sure.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen, everybody.
Absolutely. And our email once again is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. I forgot to mention, if you'd like some stickers, send us an email. We'll drop them in the mail for you. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and the Sonia Show on Twitter, as long as that's a thing. Threads, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. You can find the Sonia Show. Where can people find you, Margot?
On Twitter, at Brooklyn Margot. Everything else, it's Brooklyn Fit Chick. And then my TikTok is at Margot Donahue. All right, everybody. In the meantime, live long and prosper.
Yes.
Don't be a creep.
Creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.